I'm in beautiful St. Martin right now, but I didn't want to be without a question for President hopeful Bernie Sanders. Okay? I wanted to know that a lot of people did not vote in the 2016 election because you weren't the presidential hopeful for the Democratic Party. I wanted to get your opinion on this. How did you feel about people, instead of voting for Hillary, not voting at all?
All right, I think that was a mistake. I worked very hard. I went to, I believe, 13 states. We did rallies all over the country. I knew then what a disaster Donald Trump would be. Yeah. And I did everything that I could to see that he was not elected. So we went to all the battleground states. I think we had some impact, but I worked as hard as I could. And look, in the political world, you don't always get what you want. All right. And, sometimes you got to use your brain in this thing. And keeping Trump from being elected was the right thing to do.
Right.
Do you think that, in retrospect, you did enough to encourage your base? Because there's this narrative of, the Bernie supporters, the Bernie bros, or whomever who, didn't go across.
Some of that is mythology. Look, there is the assumption that everybody who voted for me would automatically vote for any Democratic candidate. According to exit polls, my memory is correct, in 2008, when Hillary Clinton ran against Barack Obama, something like 25% of her supporters ended up voting for John McCain.
Yes.
Okay. So, in fact, the number who did not vote for Clinton was much less from those people who had voted for me. So it's going to happen. But, I did my best to get people to vote for Clinton.
Another thing that's interesting, talking about getting people out to the polls, one of the things that AOC was saying the other day, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was saying, was that if Joe Biden were the nominee, that she's worried that it would depress voter turnout, that people wouldn't come out. Do you agree with that?
I do. And I'll tell you why, which is not to disparage Biden. We're going to win this election and defeat Trump with a large voter turnout. To have a large voter turnout, it's not just good enough to say, Trump is awful, vote against Trump. You need to give people something to vote for. Most importantly, you need to get young people and working people involved in the political process.
Right.
Now, we've had some success in that. 2018, as you may know, young people voted at the highest level that they have in, I think, 70 years, but still not high enough. Older people voted much higher levels. So the question is, if you are somebody who voted for the war in Iraq, if you're somebody who voted like Joe Biden did for terrible trade agreements, which cost us millions of good-paying jobs, if you voted to deregulate Wall Street, as Joe did, if you voted for the Wall Street bailout, if you voted for the bankruptcy bill, if you are taking a kind of moderate approach, not dealing with the real issues facing poor people or working people, are you going to create that excitement where people say, you know what, I'm going out, I'm voting for that guy?
Right.
And I think that is the problem. So I think what AOC said is basically correct.
And you made a good point about the millennials who love